Let's stay with us and speak to Professor Christopher Isike. He's from the Africa Center for Study of the United States, Director at the University of Pretoria. Thank you so much, Prof, for your time. This is quite a huge moment in U.S. history.
Good evening to you and to your viewers. Thank you for having me. And yes, you are correct that this is a very momentous time in the history of U.S. Politics and democracy and rule of law. For a former president to be charged and arrested, for a crime. It's of course not the first time actually that a president is arrested. In 1872, the 18th president of the United States, Ulysses Grant, was arrested for what we call overspeeding today, although it was horse riding then in Washington. But he wasn't charged and he was let go after he paid a fine. But this would be the first time that a president would actually be then, indicted and taken to court, as we will see in this case.
And of course, this case, looking at what, a lot of people have had to say, it has the potential to further divide the American nation, given the two sides and what they've been saying, those who are for and those who are against him, with all their strong views.
Yeah, American politics is currently very divisive, and we have actually seen reflections of this in the both pro-Trump supporters and anti-Trump supporters who are actually wanting him to be indicted and taken to jail if found guilty. They have actually been divided sometimes by the body of law enforcement in the streets, separating the two segments. And this is reflective of how divisive American politics is currently.
And he's definitely likely to ride this one out to try and bolster his campaign as well.
Absolutely. He has a penchant for riding on these kinds of events and then using them to rally support, rally funds. We know that within the week or 1 week of his announcement of his indictment, he managed to raise between $5 to $6 million for support. And as we speak, he's ramping up campaign support and campaign monies. Of course, he's going to take advantage of this. When he comes out, it is expected that he would give a talk, and later this evening in the US, in Florida and Mar-a-Lago, where he would also give a campaign talk. He's going to have to use this and the media frenzy around this to try and get support, more support. But it's a dangerous court because it can cut both ways.
And especially, when you talk about support, some of the Republicans that have come out to support him, saying that this is a witch hunt, they cannot support this injustice. How much of that, tells us about, the powerful grasp that he continues to have over this party as well as Capitol Hill?
Well, he does have that grasp, and it's unfortunate. Well, politics basically is about getting the numbers and winning, getting power. And right now, given the polling, he appears to be the top contender for the Republican position. However, as this particular trial goes on, and depending on how it swings, you're going to find more people begin to disassociate themselves from him, especially those who feel it's an opportunity for them to actually take a go at, getting the primary ticket of the Republican Party. So it's still early days, but there is evidence to show that he does have strong support. And you just need to look at the last election with President Biden, the 2020 elections, to see how much votes he was able to get across the country, and the support is still there.
And Prof, talking about the case, how important is it going to be for the state to have a solid case here, given the fact that some, are looking outside in, are already criticizing, saying it might look like it may fall flat even before it gets underway?
Well, look, it's a complex case. It's important because, I think the American legal system, the rule of law is on trial here, actually, beyond just looking at Trump and his personality. The American system of no one above the law is actually on trial. And we it is expected that, at the end of the day, they will prove the dictum that no one is above the law, even if you're a former president. Now, for the trial itself, it's going to be very messy because, first of all, we would have to contend with the issue of whether the Manhattan district attorney will present the option of a plea bargain to Trump. We know that Trump will not accept a plea bargain because of his personal and political interest. And then they will now go into jury selection, which will be very complex because the jury is not supposed to have any kind of association with the alleged. But in this case, so people will come up and indicate whether they really know the president or not. And over time, it will tell, and then this can lead to a mistrial of some sort. So it's really going to be very complex case because of the personality of the person involved and the fact that he's currently a candidate for the 2024 elections.
And as you say, the rule of law there is also on trial. Can it survive, especially when you look at, some who have said in the United States that, there seems to be inequalities in the manner in which, things are dealt with, and now his supporters coming out again to say that they believe that this is an injustice against him?
Well, it will stand if you consider the fact that he's been, investigated and then, indicted. It is showing for sure that the legal system, is working. And like I said in the previous interview, there are lessons to be learned both ways, from the U.S. to other countries and from other countries to the U.S. Perhaps one of the things that is giving everyone, those who are in support of the legal system, standing in prosecuting a former president in the United States, the example that we can take from South Africa, that was able to send the former president to prison even if for a few weeks. That idea that the state is sacrosanct and no one is above the law, it's important to enduring a democracy. And the minute that myth is dissolved, it becomes problematic, especially in the tense and divisive environment as we have in the United States currently. So the legal system has no choice but to stand. And I would say that so far so good, it is standing.
And let's then look at something that you also touched on, which is around, how the more stuff comes out from this particular matter, and because he really wanted to go on trial and he says he wanted to go all the way, let's then look at, the support within the Republican Party. For those who are likely to distance themselves away from him, as you say, could some of those be within this particular political party, which has been seen to be conservative over time?
Well, he has a strong base of support in the Republican Party, especially among those in the rural areas of the United States. Those that I talked about earlier would probably move away from him are those who are contesting, who may be in contention for the position with him. Otherwise, he would have a strong base. And depending on who is strongest to him, who will have a chance to take the ticket from him, there could be that division within the lower ranks of the party. But the people that I'm also really more interested in are the independents, who I think in this case would be the ones who would swing the votes either way for either of the two major political parties. Otherwise, right now, I would say that the Democrats would stand firm, and the polling has shown that they will stand firm in their support for a Democratic candidate against Trump, and then the Republicans would do the same. But the neutrals, the independents, are the ones who would have to be swayed one way or another by this trial and its outcomes. And this is why I think that if Trump is indicted, you would have a lot of independents moving away from him. And then if he does get the ticket, would actually prevent him from, or make it difficult for him to win the elections in 2024.
It's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. Thank you so much for that, Prof. Do appreciate that analysis. That was Professor Christopher Isike from the Africa Center for Study of the United States at the University of Pretoria.